Welcome to For the Record, a podcast from the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus, hosted by Senator Brian Pettyjohn, Chief of Staff Deanna Killen, and Communications Director Matt Rebel. This is For the Record.
Wow. Blatantly jokes. Oh, we don't have... Well, anyway. So here we are. Speaking of... Well, anyway, I won't even lead into that. Well, we're here. We have wrapped up... By the time you're listening to this, we've wrapped up JFC. Today, as we're recording Tuesday, is the final day. They're making up a couple days from last week from the blizzard.
The blizzard seems so long ago now.
It does, yeah. But I know there was a lot going on even at the state level. And Deanna, I know you have a list, particularly as it pertains to the, I don't know which one you want to start off with, but the housing roundtable. Yeah,
we can start with the housing roundtable. They met on Thursday last week. This was hosted by Representative Lambert and Senator Huxtable. The meeting was very eye-opening for me for the fact, basically what they were discussing is ways to make housing more affordable in Delaware.
Okay.
And of course, the first...
So what things were we talking about? Reducing, permitting fees, or were they reduce,
None of that.
None of that.
Surprisingly, no
yes.
less government.
Because...
Taking away, some requirements that are out there that make housing more expensive?
Nope.
No. Oh. Well, what are they talking about?
Well, we fundamentally disagree on the role of government, the Democrats and Republicans. That's very clear. I mean, their idea always is more government intervention. Mm-hmm. We do not feel that way. We think less intervention. Well, one of the things, I think the main thing they discussed was rent stabilization, a statewide rent stabilization or control. They also threw out possible increase in minimum wage. One of the advocates, threw that out there. So I don't know if that's something we'll see next year or not. But it's very, I think what struck me the most was just the fact that they had advocates from a lot of the different groups and who were all pro-rent control, all of them. And I don't think they had anyone that was an opposing view of why, hey, maybe this doesn't work, because there is a lot of data that says it does not work. Mm-hmm. Even in Austin, Texas, I know that they had tried, they basically invested into the city and allowed people to come in, build. And what happened was they had a huge supply of rental units. So organically, rent came down. And that's the kind of, I think, policy that we agree with. But
using basic economic principles.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, I felt like it was very concerning. I knew the pattern has been for quite some time that Delaware is going very, very far left. And I think for me, because I was texting all of you during this meeting, I'm like, this is crazy. We are really there. And one advocate even mentioned referenced Mondani in New York and the good work he's doing. I'm like, so we're going to start, this is what we're doing in Delaware. We're going to look to Mondani. We're going to become a socialist state. I don't know. I think it scared me a little bit and really made me perk up thinking, okay, we are really going super, super far left in Delaware.
Yeah. And we're getting away from a lot of the principles that really has benefited Delaware over the years, and that's market-based type solutions to things. I mean, we do that with our banking industry. I mean, we got the banking industry has made a significant mark on Delaware's economy, and that's a capitalist type solution.
And you wonder how long that's going to go on, because even in the bill escapes me, but the bill for the corporate franchise that we passed.
SB 21.
SB 21.
Yeah. I mean, we had some of the far left leaning legislators that did not support that.
That did not support it, right.
Right. And how much of that adds to our GDP and adds to our budget?
That's a third of our that's a third of our revenue here in Delaware is the corporate franchise.
Right. So the mentality that is starting to become more and more prevalent in Delaware is going to run all of that industry out of here.
That's frightening. I mean, that's frightening because $2 billion plus has got to be made up somewhere.
Yep.
And if it's not going to be coming from the corporate franchise, where's it going to come from?
Yep.
You and I.
Right. We need to take care of that corporate franchise.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. I mean, as it relates to the housing market and stuff, I mean, a lot of, like you mentioned at the top there, I just find it so interesting how government has gotten more and more involved in the rental industry. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of good faith actors who are landlords leaving the market. So then, of course, they're either selling or whatever, and then a lot of that gets absorbed by BlackRock. We hear about these large corporations
and that's why they're
both
coming
sides
in.
are actually And so, to me, it's kind of common sense. Well, why don't we look at the things that have led to this and start peeling away, as opposed to their answer is, well, we need more and more government, which is just going to have the same effect. More and more, again, good landlords. I'm sure there are bad landlords out there. I'm not trying to, right? We don't want to paint everybody as broad brush, good or bad, but it's just going to keep making the problem worse.
And we have seen that. We have seen that in some of the things that we've done here, whether it's with manufactured home communities or some of the things that we've done with rentals, requiring landlords to take vouchers. There are some that said, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And instead of having a rental unit out on the market, they sell it as a single family home. And now it's out of that rental market. It's out of that more affordable housing type market. So that actually has the effect of lowering the supply and putting more pressure, more upward pressure on rents in Delaware.
Right. There's no incentive to invest and to put, because I know someone personally, and I don't want to say their name because it'll give away who this is, but I know someone personally who works for a housing group, and it's a first year, it's a brand new property, just built. This person is managing the finances for it. And this is actually a very liberal minded person. And I was speaking with him, and he said this person, who owns this property is not going to make any money this year. He said they probably will not make any money for the next 4 years. So, and I think that's what they look at. They think that these people come in, they invest, and then they just become millionaires. Well, there's a lot of times when these companies start up, they don't make any money at all.
Right.
So then when they do start to increase their money, well, they're just making up for years that they haven't. And there's no incentive. I remember when we were doing the reassessment hearings, and one of the state legislators, a Democrat legislator, was talking, basically poo-pooing the idea that landlords don't make money. She was like, I think you know who I'm talking about, but she had made the comment, I find it hard to believe that these landlords can't absorb some of this cost.
Right.
And it's just none of these people talking have invested their money into building these homes
or businesses
right
at all.
Yes.
Right.
And that's one thing my dad always said is, if you are making policy that has to do with business, you better have some type of idea of what it's like to run a business or to sign the front of a paycheck instead of just the back of a paycheck. Right. And right now we don't have that. Our General Assembly is made up of lawyers, advocates, activists, and more so than anything. I don't know if we even have any business owners other than Senator Hocker. I mean, you have a small farm.
Senator Wilson.
Yep. Yeah, and maybe some in the House. I know we have some farmers, which I kind of say farmers are small business, because it's kind of the same mentality. But you don't understand the concept. Oregon was the first state to adopt a statewide rent control. And what they found was they had a cap that every year that the landlord was allowed to raise rent. And landlords said there were a lot of years that we would not have raised rent. There was no need to. But because of what was happening with the state and the way they were legislating, they automatically every year raised rent at the cap level just because they were afraid of what was coming down the pike, if the cap was going to eventually be lowered. And the D.C. Policy Group did some research on this, and it talks about how it shrinks the housing supply. Washington, D.C. lost 14% of rent-controlled units. San Francisco, which I think we all know, San Francisco, and expanding rent control there led to fewer rentals, more condo conversions, which is a big thing that happens, higher citywide rents. And it's just, I mean, I have pages and pages of statistics of how this does not work.
And just from a common sense standpoint, look, if the landlords aren't able to raise rents to take care of things, you're going to have maintenance problems.
Yes. Because
they're not going to be able to raise rent to do a lot of the proactive maintenance that is necessary on a building. It's going to, I know New York has automatic rights for tenants to be able to stay there pretty much indefinitely. So that's lower turnover. So, you're not going to have the availability of units. That's going to happen. And, also when you have an investor that may be looking to buy a building that is currently rented, if they don't see the ability to be able to turn a profit on that, those buildings are going to essentially they're going to lose value instead of gain value,
right?
For investors.
And a lot of them sit empty,
and they sit empty. You have a lot of slumlords that are there. That you have tens or hundreds or maybe even thousands of code violations in a lot of those buildings. I know that was one of the discussions in New York. So, and that's a product of the rent control that New York City has done over the last, 30 plus years, probably 40 plus years at this point.
And that's what Mondani talks about. It's one of the highest places to rent, in the country. And New York City actually had a program called Unlocking Doors. And what it was, because there were so many apartment units sitting empty because the landlords could not afford maintenance. They started off giving landlords $25,000 to be able to, do enhancements. Nobody was taking advantage of it, so they upped it to $50,000 per unit to cover repair costs. So they could get everything up to snuff and have, start running the place again.
$50,000 is a lot of money to spend on a unit, but I guess if costs are so high in New York to begin with, and they probably still had to buy their permits and everything too.
Yeah, but they even said that property owners argue that even that amount is not enough to cover the high upfront cost of modernizing aging units. And so very few people took advantage of it. And again, it leads to less housing, not more housing.
Right.
Well, I think the reality that maybe we need to start accepting that the other side, I don't think the other side, they don't want you to make a profit.
No.
And I think that maybe extends beyond just the housing industry in general. I mean, business owners that are making profits, that are millionaires or whatever. Well, first of all, I mean, it misses the mark because they didn't start as millionaires, most of them, a lot of them, right? They got into it because they wanted to work independently. They wanted to create jobs for whomever.
Had that entrepreneurial spirit.
They had that entrepreneurial spirit, which is what made America what it is. But I feel like the other side, you're seeing it with Mondani, especially. I don't really think they believe that you should be able to make a profit, and that's why they don't care, frankly.
And how many times on the floor have we heard comments or in committees from whether it's legislators or advocates that, literally demonize business owners?
They do.
They see every business owner as this fat cat that's out there that's taking advantage of everybody else. And, most business in Delaware are small business owners. Whether it's, retail, commercial, whether it's rental, they're small business owners. And, they're the ones that create the jobs for a lot of these people.
Right.
But it's always the business owner that's demonized out there in a lot of these narratives that come out.
No, I agree.
And it's unfair. And again, it's just going to lead to more people saying it's bad business to do business in Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfair for the business owner who, maybe over the course of 10 years has made himself out to be herself out to be a millionaire, but it's completely ignoring the fact that each year they've had to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially up front. I think that's another thing that's lost on people, especially business owners that create a brick and mortar type business. They incur a ton of debt.
Yes.
And oftentimes, especially your first small business that you start isn't really successful. So you're taking a huge risk, and it just, all these pieces of legislation that, as it relates to this and other things, just completely misses that. Because I don't think they care.
Right, and a lot of the majority of people making our policies here in Delaware have no idea what it's like. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. We had several businesses. I worked in one of them, the restaurant, for years, and I learned more. I actually went to college after I worked in our family's business for quite some time, and I learned way more helping my parents run the restaurant than I did in college.
Right.
It's just those real world experiences, you can't duplicate them. And it's almost like every legislator should be required to do some type of internship underneath, the direction of an entrepreneur to show them the risks that they take. And, can you do a bill to make that happen?
Sure, I could. Yeah.
Sure, that'll
constitutional amendment there.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Qualifications for office.
Right. Yeah, but it's crazy to me, and we're getting less and less business friendly. And like I say, this meeting on Thursday really alarmed me. And then, of course, there was a mention of an increase in minimum wage and how nobody in Delaware can survive on the minimum wage that we make. And we hear this. How many times have we heard it on the floor? Oh, they're always talking about the sky is falling when we raise minimum wage, but nothing ever happens. Well, that's not true, because California raised minimum wage. And everything that's happening there, I mean, 16,000 jobs have lost since they have raised minimum wage. A study by Berkeley Research Group found that menu prices in California have increased 14.5% due to the $20 wage hike. Employment Policy Institute did a survey of fast food restaurants. 98% raised prices, 89% reduced employee hours, 73% limited overtime opportunities, and 70% reduced staff or consolidated positions. So this ultimately ends up hurting the workers. It ends up increasing prices for all of us. And it's not just fast food job. Major companies have left California too because of their bad policies. And I don't think I need to list all of them, but we should not be looking at places like California and New York
for ideas
and thinking, oh, we want to be like them. Not a good idea.
Personnel costs normally are the highest expense of any company. People are expensive.
Yeah.
And if a company, when it gets to the point where a machine is cheaper than a person,
and that's happening,
they're going to go with a machine. And you see that. You were talking about fast food. You see that at McDonald's. They have the kiosk where you can self-order, or the app.
The apps, yep.
Where you can order on your way and then pick it up there. So
and that's what we do.
Very, very little interaction with an actual person there at McDonald's. And it used to be you used to go there and the back of the house was just bustling with people. Moving around, the cashiers like that. Yep. You go there now and it almost looks like a midnight skeleton crew in the middle of the day at these fast food restaurants now. And, and it's because people have become so expensive to have that it's cheaper for them to replace a lot of them with as many as you can with technology.
Yeah.
Now just imagine what happens when AI is fully integrated.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, God forbid you have a mess up on your order and you go in and try to get it straight. I mean, it's almost impossible to talk to someone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, it's just it's scary the way that we are going. It's very scary.
Yeah.
I'm sure you two agree with that.
So let's talk about, I got something, I'm not sure if it's on your list or not, but we saw last week that the state Supreme Court, and you mentioned Senate Bill 21, they affirmed that Senate Bill 21 is constitutional. There was, I think one of the original plaintiffs, there was a case out there that Court of Chancery can ask for an advisory opinion from the state Supreme Court. State Supreme Court came back and said yes. The provisions of Senate Bill 21 were constitutional, and they upheld that piece.
Yes.
And as we said before when we were talking about Senate Bill 21, there were some issues that we had with some of the decisions that were made in the Court of Chancery. A former chancellor said, Senate Bill 21 didn't fix everything, but it calmed the waters.
Right.
And we've seen that based on, the number and the frequency of companies that are leaving Delaware kind of fell off dramatically after that. And especially I think you're going to see really a lot more of effect since the state Supreme Court reversed the chancellor's decisions on the Musk case as well. So,
and I assume the DFAC will tell us what we look like now.
Yes.
Right. Because right now we're hearing that more companies are coming in, but I don't really know what that looks like. If they're big, large,
and part
small.
of that, we won't see that until their first corporate income tax, their first filings come in.
All right. So you might not see that in the next DFAC then?
I'm not sure when we're going to see that.
Okay.
I think the tax bills have got to go out. I think we might see that in the last DFAC that comes in prior to June 30th. But that's something we'll have to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Energy bills, of course, has been a big one that we've talked about recently. And one thing that I found extremely interesting is on February 26th, the Massachusetts House, this was a Democrat bill, I just want to put that out there, passed a major energy affordability bill. And it includes a provision requiring 70% of alternate compliance payments be returned directly to ratepayers through July 1st, 2029. So we obviously saw this, and we are going to mirror this and introduce our own bill. The Senate Republicans are to do the same. And I think what I find interesting is anytime we have conversations about energy bills here, all we hear, it's like, oh, giving Reggie money back and ACP money back to people, that will do nothing.
It's only
$5. Yeah. Well, I was watching a lot of the debates and things from Massachusetts, and Democrats in Massachusetts are saying that this will have a nice impact on ratepayer bills, and they will see immediate cost savings.
Good.
So I'm just wondering when we're going to reverse course and maybe do things a little differently. I was kind of impressed with what I saw in Massachusetts.
And it was good bipartisan support for that?
I don't think so. I actually don't think, believe it or not, I think some Republicans voted no because I think they wanted it to go further and pull back even more on some of the energy policies that they had in place there. But I encourage people to go look at it. It's H5151.
Okay.
Yep. So hopefully, I don't know how fast we'll be able to get this drafted, but it'd be great if we could get this introduced and through the end before June 30th.
I mean, look, anytime we take some of the money that we are taking from the utility companies that get passed on to the ratepayers, of course, and return that back to those ratepayers, why does the state need that money? What are we doing with it?
Right. To me, I'm for putting money in LIHEAP, which is a low income, thing. But to me, let's just break on everything else, and let's give people a break until we can at least figure out what's happening with energy. Get more energy on the grid where we can bring prices down, because people are hurting now. Some of the bills we're seeing on the Delmarva, what's it called?
The victims group.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group. It's insane. So, I mean, they are more than my mortgage.
Did I send you
crazy.
the screenshot? Somebody posted their $2,000.
Yeah.
Over $2,000.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that. That's just insane.
That is.
That's insane.
And I don't know. You've got to wonder, what are they doing in their homes? You've really got to ask that question. I've got to. It's not.
Because you're DP&L, right?
I'm DP&L.
Yeah. So you could.
But my bill was, I think, something like 500 something with the really cold month. Now, I also use propane too. Okay. So
maybe this is an all electric home.
Yeah, upstairs is our upstairs is all electric. Downstairs is a heat pump, but if it can't keep up, then the propane kicks in. So I spend about $1,000 a year on propane.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So but when I don't know. I really like to take a look at some of those houses and see what they're doing. See if we can kind of figure out what kind of energy profile they have, because that's an extraordinary amount of energy that they're having to use to heat those homes and do everything else. So
yeah.
You know what? I mean, I think our caucus has been pretty consistent. Obviously, if we're facing record cold weather, obviously your usage is going to double or triple, so your bill is going to go way up. And I don't know where this individual lived, but I know a lot of the ratepayers in Newcastle get their gas from Delmarva Power.
Their natural gas is on their bill.
So certainly that's going to be a little bit higher. And I'm sure there are instances of homes out there that are poorly insulated, or they're, for whatever reason, their home maybe doesn't. Older homes that doesn't retain heat as well, or
single pane windows and old insulation, all those things. But
but but at the end of the day, I think there's obviously a direct correlation. I mean, you look at the company Delmarva Power; they're regulated by the state. They're subject to a lot of the state these bills that have been passed. I don't think it's coincidental that their ratepayers are paying substantially more than, say, those of us on co-op or DMAC or whatever.
Yeah, I'm co-op, and it's I have, of course, my home's not big, but we also have a large garage that is that we heat during the winter, and I think my bill was like $350, and we're all electric. We have no propane. So to me, and that's Delaware Electric, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's so hard, like we've talked before, it's so hard to get straight answers whenever you reach out to any of the electric utilities. It's like everyone's guarded on what kind of information you want to give. You'll ask a question, and it's like no one really answers a question. They kind of talk around it. So it's just so hard to get information.
Did we ever get a final amount on what's in the Green Energy
not.
Fund?
We did not.
I mean, I know they sent us some spreadsheet that shows...
It only showed the money coming in and then where that money is allocated to. But there was they could not show us, like, how much of that money is actually being used. Like I said, I think there was we were able to view it on the back end of the state system. I don't have the number in front of me now.
Yeah,
was it 33 million that they saw? But
something,
again,
that's close to that.
Right, but that's not the whole picture. So I don't know the number. But again, just asking simple questions about how much is in the fund, you can't get an answer. That is insane to me. They should be transparent with that. You should be able to. So
just take a screenshot of the bank account.
Yeah. Yeah.
Send it.
Bank accounts.
Whatever.
You
That's
know,
all.
yeah.
That's all I
Yeah.
care. Yeah. If it's 3 bank accounts, I can add it. That's what we want to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, in addition to the 75% of the ACP payments being returned to ratepayers, they also cut roughly $1 billion from the Mass Save program, which I assume is probably similar to the Green Energy Fund. So they're really pulling back on some of these programs and being like, "Look, we have a problem here." And again, this is a Northeast state, and I feel like all these Northeast states are having the same issue.
And a state, I should add, that has embraced offshore wind.
Yes.
Right, they have. Yeah. Majorly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, nothing against offshore wind or solar, but it's not gonna meet our energy needs today. It's just not realistic to think. Good to supplement, but it's not gonna meet our needs.
Tuesday, March 3rd, as of 9:55 a.m. in the PJM territory, 49.2, almost half of the electricity produced right now is by natural gas. Nuclear's 26%, coal 15%, hydro 3.2, and I'm going down. Multiple fuels, oil, solar 0.9, wind 0.9.
Yeah.
Solar one, that number actually fascinates me. I'm sure it's higher when it's sunny, obviously, but as much as the state has invested in solar, you would think that would be much higher. I would think.
I mean, and that's the
I say
entire PJM
states.
territory.
I'm talking
Right.
about. So I should say the region.
Yeah.
But isn't the problem, from what I'm understanding, being able to store that?
It is.
Yeah. Because if you can't store it, because if you can't store it and use it later, it's really.
But that's during the nighttime, really.
Right.
It's daytime. The sun's out.
Yeah.
It's probably cloudy in a lot of these places that have them right now. So they're not generating. And that, therein lies the problem, really, with your solar especially. You can store a lot, but at some point in time, if you have a few days of overcast in an area, then that storage is going to be depleted, and you need to have that energy from somewhere else.
Right.
I mean, I think people think it's a dumb argument because it's so simple, but if the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, then
You got to have something else.
Exactly.
Right.
It really is a very, like you said, it is very simple, but it's crazy sometimes the complicated arguments you get when you bring it up. So.
What else we got?
Yeah. I think Matt wanted to talk about the conflict over in Iran.
oh yeah, that's what. Really...
That was what Matt requested to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was the area. This is actually what I studied in college.
Yeah, I didn't
so,
know that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
What'd you study?
So my major was international relations, and
Really?
the region of the world that I focused on was Northern Africa. But to put it in context, so I started college in 2007, so that was 6 years removed from 9/11, 4 years removed from when we started the war in Iraq. Right. So you figure there was a ton of overlap considering the region. And so I'm sure everyone who is listening or watching this knows by now that Israel and the United States bombed IRGC targets in Iran.
IRGC, for people that don't know.
The Iranian Revolutionary Guard C. Whatever this, I cannot
Commission?
think.
I don't know.
I cannot think of what the C. I
Maybe,
can never
Blake
remember.
or
Core.
Peyton.
Core.
Core.
Yeah. Okay, it makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah. So like they're
They're military.
it's not even their military. It's kind of weird in that sense. So you have the military, but then you have the IRGC, which is more or less like a very large scale police force.
Okay.
But the heads of the IRGC control like the military, but the military is kind of separate.
Okay.
So really, we can really get into the weeds if we really want to. But I mean, you just see the arguments that are made on social media by friends of mine on both sides of the aisle,
Right.
and the influencers on Twitter, and it just lacks a ton of nuance.
Right.
That I think, frankly, we need to, and I say we, not every, like us per se, but I think there just has to be a discussion about what this means and to really step back, be level-headed about what's going on. But I don't know. I mean, you just see people who are so polarized in the political climate today. So if you hate Trump, well, it's the worst thing ever. There was a video
I
that
have a
you
video
were
I'm gonna
showing
show.
me.
Yeah, I have a video I
Maybe
wanna
we'll
show.
take a little pause here.
Yeah.
and I'll put it up so people can
And this video
watch
is
it.
an example of they don't need to know the facts about the situation. I just know I hate Trump, so therefore I cannot possibly support this. And this video is just frightening to me of how little people know.
So we'll go ahead and play this video now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. All right.
Are you pro women's rights?
Of course.
Being pro women's rights, who do you think is more for women's rights? The Trump administration or the Iranian regime?
I don't know. Don't really know anything about the Iranian regime, but I'm against Trump, so I guess I'll go Iranian regime if it's between the two.
What rights do we not have here as women?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to be in this anymore.
If you had to pick.
If I had to pick, like, gun to my head, shoot me, like, I don't...
Iran?
Yeah.
Iran is in the Middle East.
That's the, yeah. Well, probably not the Trump. Bruh. Okay, if I had to pick, probably Iranian militarization. Like, Trump is just evil in so many ways, yeah.
Okay, so do you think the Iranian regime is more pro women's rights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but you
so-
see
Yeah.
an insane thing like that. Now, granted, that's just what 4 people that she interviewed.
But I think that mindset
But it is
more
pervasive.
prominent than what you think. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that. Then, granted, you have people on our side, like the right-wing influencers, that 6 months ago were saying we shouldn't be going into Iran at all. Well, now that we have gone in there, they think it's the greatest thing ever. But I think to kind of wrap, like to put a bow or finer point or whatever, like we should be able to have rational discussions, disagreeing with people who we generally agree with, or vice versa, and we've just lost that.
We have.
We as a society. I don't understand why.
We have, and I mean, I see that out there, out in the community a lot, where you see it more on social media because people don't do these types of things face to face.
Right.
But it's really easy, generally. Sometimes, but generally, a lot of it is on social media when people are behind a keyboard or on their phone. They can say whatever they want,
Right.
and they do say whatever they want.
Easy to be a big bad,
Right.
big baddie when you're sitting behind a keyboard.
And and I don't like to do a whole lot of the national stuff because people come to us and complain about national stuff.
That
and
is
I'm
true.
Like, look,
That is true.
That's not me. If you want to really talk about the federal stuff, then you need to contact our members over in DC. Chris Coons and Lisa Blunt Rochester and Sarah McBride and deal with them over there about the federal issues because we to them are just regular constituents, just like my neighbor.
Right.
We really don't have influence over what they say and do over there in DC. And
it is amazing how many people don't know that.
I know they think,
mean,
we're state
yeah.
senators, we have more pull than they do. I
Right.
mean, we have contacts to get stuff done,
Right.
but when it comes to policy stuff over
Yeah.
there, we don't move the needle over there
Right.
over in DC.
Yep, agreed. And kind of looping this back around to Delaware and Delaware-specific issues, we will be April. I don't know the date. We will have Brian DiSabatino on as a special guest. He
Yes.
is head of the Business Roundtable right now. He came in and gave a presentation to our caucuses about basically the state of the business environment here in Delaware, and it was a pretty
was
alarming.
eye-opening.
It was pretty alarming presentation. So we immediately asked, "Hey, look, you've got to come on and talk about this on our podcast." So he'll be coming on in April. So really excited about that. Talk about kind of where we started the business
Yep.
community and people. I just really urge people to really start paying attention because if we continue down the path we are, I don't know. It's just. I don't think the recording to that housing roundtable is public, so I don't think we can put that out there for people. But I really
Should be public.
I want people to really pay attention and really watch these meetings, and we do actually have several really good social media warriors right now who are out there making people aware of what's going on. They're sitting through some of these meetings and making people aware. People need to really start paying attention. If you love Delaware and you care about Delaware and you want to see us succeed, a lot of these policies that are they're pursuing, they're not good. They're not good.
We need our economy to grow here in Delaware, and
Yes.
part of that is for businesses to be able to, to be able to form, to thrive, and succeed, to hire people, to reinvest in their companies, to reinvest in the communities, and that's a win-win for all. But
Right.
when we create an environment that takes one of those legs out of businesses, then they're going to go somewhere else,
Yep.
or they're going to be here for a little while and then move somewhere different.
And we're already seeing that. People are moving out of places like California and to more business-friendly places. I mean, a lot of big businesses have left California, went to Tennessee, Florida.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah.
So, but that's all that I have
Okay.
for today. All right.
So next week, the General Assembly does return for.
Oh, is it next week?
It's next week. We're
It
back.
is next week, Deanna.
That happened fast.
Get your minutes ready.
Yeah, and we're in for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then Easter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's early Easter this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then like 2 or 3 weeks, then another JFC markup, and then June.
June's going to be here before we know it.
It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
These General Assemblies go by so fast. Phew. So, all right. We'll see everyone next week.
That's right. For the Record is recorded and produced by the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus. You can find us with the DE Senate GOP handle on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Threads. Discover more about our caucus on our website, senategop.delaware.gov.